Everybody, welcome to another week of Outside the Box Live. I
Hi.
am your host with the most. We got the cat lady, we got Yukon Mikey. So we don't got Fred this week. Fred's on assignment. He went out of town. He's hanging. But we might catch him in the chat tonight. Guys, so thank everyone. It is Memorial Day weekend. And I want to start the show off.
Come in.
I found a new little place today. I was going up to where was I going? I was going to talk to a wedding couple. That's what I was doing. And there's this. It's called Pork U Barbecue up on the Dallas Highway. It's past the run. It's past the runabout. Just it's right in the same place as Domino's. So, but the only thing it's a takeout joint. There's no. It's like Nazi. It's takeout and catering. And
Nazis take out and catering?
and
Jawohl!
oh wait, I have the menu here. And
Jawohl, mein Barbecue!
It's called Pork U Barbecue. It's open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I got what was called the Cuban. The roll was nice and soft. It's the
No Cuban. They're Bavarian.
it's
Ein, zwei, drei, vier.
Mike.
it has
Ein Volk, ein Reich. Sorry.
pork barbecue. No, it had pork. It was a pork barbecue with big Swiss cheese, pickles and spicy mustard. And let me tell you, it was like really, really good. So I want to give a shout out to Pork U Barbecue. I don't know if they watch the show or not, but
That sounds good.
that was really good. Now the only thing is it's the price. The sandwich alone was $12. But once in a while, I mean, it was nice. It was thick. The bun was soft. It was worth it. Now they have a meal for $17.68 with that, and you get two sides. I have no clue what their sides are. Maybe I do know what their sides are. Yeah, the sides are mac and cheese, John Connor baked beans, Terminator maybe. Who knows? Macaroni salad, coleslaw, and they have cornbread muffin. The salads are 16 ounces at range. Yeah, it's I got a couple comments. I got a comment. Someone there said, "Yeah, it's really good," and I thought it was really good. But hello to our Instagram people. Hello to our Facebook people. It's Do I have any other announcements? I want to say thank you to Happy Memorial Day, everybody who's watching. Who's going to have a cookout tomorrow or Monday, whatever you're doing. Hope you have a good day. I know I'm going to a cookout tomorrow. What else?
I'm just going to try to stay awake.
It's as you can hear, my voice is a little more better than it was. Thank God. Finally, the Met it finally broke up. It took me almost 2 weeks. Hello, Ashley. Thank you. Oh yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. How are you doing tonight? And welcome to the show. And tonight's show, we are talking. Well, we're gonna start talking out paranormal stories, ghost stories. Anybody has any want to talk about? If for those who were here last week, we kind of ended with talking about paranormal, so I figure we'll pick it up this week because it was starting to go pretty good. We just ran out of time. It was almost like 11:30 midnight last week.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to pick it up this week. And if anybody out there has any ghost stories, I have a few that I did talk about in the past. But I'll go last because people probably don't want to hear me talk. They probably want to hear other people. Matt's in the house. What's up, Matt? Brother crewman. Now, everybody just tuned in. Fred is not here tonight. He was gone out of town today. So you might see him chime in through the chat, but he's not going to be here in the studio.
That's if he's not taking a nap.
Oh yeah, he might be taking a nap. Sometimes we catch usually Mrs. Crewman. She'll bop in. Yeah, today was all I did. Today I cleaned my house and I made hot dog chili. That's what I did.
I slept.
I did that for
I
a
went
little.
to Montage Mountain.
But, oh, did you? Anything interesting?
I went to meet a guy named Mark.
Yeah.
And I picked up. I believe I sent a picture of it to the chat.
Oh, that's what you picked up. Okay, I did see that.
Yeah, it's a 19 by 22 bar mirror for Yukon Jack.
I like that. That was nice.
It's cool. I was sitting in work yesterday. Yesterday was Friday, right?
Yes, it was.
And my buddy Joe came running up to me. He's like, "Dude, I was reading Paper Shop, man, and I saw the most amazing thing. You got it's like So You got to get it."
It's so
I'm like,
you.
"Well, what is it?" It's a Yukon Jack mirror. Yeah, that sounds quite like me. Yeah, okay. And he came running back. He cut it out. I haven't read Paper Shop in 20 years.
I didn't even know they still had Paper Shop.
They do. The guy included a picture with the listing, and he cut. My buddy Joe cut it out and ran it back up to my desk. And he's like, "You got to get it." And I'm like, "I agree." It was like $30. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll buy that." It's from like the 1980s or 90s.
I was just gonna ask. I was gonna be like, okay, what did they nail you for it? But
yeah, the $30, and the guy for additional 20. For an additional 20, he gave me or sold me a sculpture. It's like it's a sculpture that held. Yeah, it held liquor at one time, and it's a dude with Alaskan Huskies. Like a sled dude. And he's like bundled up head to toe, and it says Yukon Jack, and it's like really primitive looking, like by today's standards, like with laser cut and all that. But it's if Gina wants to share, I sent her a picture of it, and because she obviously can't get down here to see it. But I went to meet the guy up at we were both familiar with. It was a nice halfway point because the guy's from like Lake Wallenpaupack.
Oh, okay.
And it was guitar. He had to go to Best Buy in Scranton anyway for something. So we just lined it up where we made it as kind of like a halfway point somewhere public. And it just turns out he was just a really, really, really good guy, really cool dude. We actually sat in the parking lot bullshitting for like 45 minutes. So that's my book report. That's what I did today. And I got Gina some tea. Because Gina likes tea.
Gina, and orange juice. And I've been on a milk kick too.
Speaking of, and hey, just want to give me hey everybody, thank you for hanging out. Stephanie, I hope you guys had a good time. Hope the rain didn't hit you too bad. Esoteric 1315. I'm doing pretty good. It's what was I had something in my hand I was gonna say, and damn it. What else was I gonna say? Oh crap! I'm trying to blank. I don't know. I forgot. I had something in my head. So I'm gonna say thanks for everybody who subscribes to all our channels. And so Steph, did you find anything good today at your
flea market?
Flea markets. Why am I blanking? Anything good?
Probably the meds.
Probably. Now, in case anyone was wondering or just shown up today, that first time watching the show, welcome. My voice is actually coming back to normal. Yay, go me! Because not having a voice really, really stunk.
I'm just watching a thing right here. Mel Brooks is 98 years old.
He's 98 years old?
Yeah.
Who?
Mel Brooks.
Oh, I didn't realize he was still alive, actually,
Right?
No, he's still alive.
Okay, Ashley has a question. New to your paranormal videos. What's the best thing you have caught on video or audio? It's a good question. What's
Hi,
up,
John.
John? Marconi, Mr. Marconi is in the house.
Hey, what's up, John? How are you?
To answer Ashley's question, and here's the thing though, and I just want to throw this out first. I mean, I've watched on Travel Channel, Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, and where they always seem to find like some type of paranormal activity.
Zach Vegas
Exactly,
strips
yeah.
making the O face every time there's a bump.
Oh, right, yeah. But see, in reality, that doesn't happen all the time. So I'm wondering how many lengths of footage they go through until they actually get some type of activity. But
Or they just have a crew person making noise or walking. It's Ghost Hunters. They admitted to making up evidence. So,
with the videos I put up though, or you'll see up in the near future, mostly it's us Walker, me, or whoever now is going to join. Because this year I want to resurrect. I want to go ghost hunt. I want to go well, I don't want to call it ghost hunting. I want to call it paranormal research because you're not always going to find a ghost. One of the coolest things though, and I put up in that St. Mary's video, in the beginning, I was at St. Mary's in Hanover, and I put a camera up right in front of my uncle and aunt's stone. And as I'm talking, just talking to the camera, I can't make out what it says, but I caught an EVP. I can't make out what it said. Hi, Mark. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you, buddy. Actually, I couldn't make out what it said, but that was one of the coolest things I've ever caught on video. Now, there's another thing that I caught with another buddy, an old buddy of mine, but the video somehow disappeared. I don't know what happened to it, and I can't find it. But I was at the Knox. Me and another friend of mine we're walking through in Pittston the Knox Mine Trail, and what happened was, it was a Friday night. It was in the summer. All we had was just a camcorder, a regular camcorder, nothing fancy, with a high powered mic. All I had was a high powered mic. So we were walking up the Knox Mine Trail. It was about maybe, I don't know, 9:30 at night. It was dark out, and we're walking up. Nothing. We didn't hear nothing. You heard the crickets chirping. You heard cars going by up up the road, but nothing major. So when we came back, I came back to the house, and actually, here, I'll get to you. I'll answer that question for you in a moment. There, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time saying it. Esoteric. I'm sorry. I'm killing your name. I apologize. So when I went back to the house, I got the SIM card from the camera, and I'm playing it back, and you could hear clear as day, doom, 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 like Indian war drums. That's what it reminded me of. Clear as, like, you should have heard them there. That's how loud it was that the mic picked this up. But walking through, you did not hear anything. It was quiet as can be. So the next week, we went back just to debunk it, see if it happens again. And it happened again. You heard the Indian war drums. Now, we went further down to where the monument was, and we tried to debunk this. We couldn't say it was someone was screwing with us or what, but we go down to where the monument is, and we're yelling, hello, anybody here, blah blah blah. And like, the best thing I can explain, it sounded like a little creepy old lady voice going, hello, like that creechy, like, kind of, and it came from some down near the Susquehanna River. So I look at my buddy of mine, and he looked at me, we looked at each other, and went, shit. Like, did that, or like, we maybe better get out of here, because we didn't know. We didn't know if it was just someone screwing with us, but at the same time, nobody knew we were going back, and you'd have to actually jump over a fence, a chain link fence, cross the railroad tracks, and go down into the gully of the Susquehanna. Like, who would be, so, who'd want to be there or not? But it definitely we definitely we're like, oh damn. That was one of the coolest things we saw. And when we did, we were welcomed into one of my channel followers or page followers has me on Facebook here, or one of my followers asked me if we can come out. Her husband recently passed away, like 6 months, and she asked us to come and see if we could catch any activity. And we caught some orbs, we caught little things. So yeah, it's I love doing it because I love trying to I love to learn about the afterlife and stuff like that. Not that I want to die anytime soon. Don't get me wrong, but it's cool because kind of you scare yourself sometimes. You're walking through a cemetery, you hear something, you're like, oh, what's that? You're like, oh, what am I gonna see? It's but yeah, definitely I plan on. I'm gonna have a playlist called NEPA Spirit Seekers. I'm gonna put up some merch to back it up, to promote it. Let me get back to. All right, Steph said I messed with old cameo brooches. Found. Oh, nice, Steph. Let me go back. There was a question here. Oh, Esther. Oh, the pork barbecue today. I'm gonna be dead honest. The meat itself was tender. It wasn't dry. The mustard that they used made it with the cheese. The bun was. I didn't think it wasn't dry. Now, I would have liked it seen maybe more sauce in the meat itself, but the meat itself was tender. I can't say nothing bad about it. And yeah, that was the first time I was there. Nice people. I thought it was more like a sit down inside restaurant, which that wasn't the case, but okay, it's all right. That's quite okay. If things happen. Also, there's a new place, and you'll see the video tomorrow. It'll be up at midnight. Okay, and it's called Cafe a Pizza. Steph, if you're still watching, it's that new pizza place down in where Sal's used to be. It's in 44 on Wyoming Ave. It used to be Sal's Pizza. Sal retired. These two new guys came in and started doing their thing, and it was really good. It's called Cafe a Pizza. It's a BYO. If you want to drink, you got to take your own booze, or wine or whatever you want to drink. But the pizza itself, price wise, it's maybe a little on the high side, but it's more like Haven New. Oh man, I just had it here with me too. I think I had to think of. Let me look. Thought I grabbed it. No, I guess I didn't. New Haven, Connecticut style pizza, which I'm not sure what, how they. I mean, it tasted good to me, actually. And I got an antipasto salad with it, and it was mustard, like spicy mustard. So there wasn't actually like your typical sauce and meat kind of deal. I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't. But I can't say anything bad about it. It was pretty decent for that pork barbecue today. That pulled pork sandwich. Cafe a Pizza. Actually, like I said, I actually ordered an antipasto. I got Caesar dressing, and like I said, I'm not a big salad fan, but I'm trying. It's yeah. If you go down, the video, you'll see the video. It'll premiere at midnight tonight. Honestly, Steph, I have videos right now straight through till I think the second week in November. I got some paranormal videos for October up. And the paranormal videos were ones that we did. They were flashbacks. They were ones that were never on my channel. It was on another channel. Just keep some content rolling with October. And if you want good bar, go to Uncle Buck's in Plymouth. I just put that video up last week. No, that was Friday. What am I talking about? That was Friday. I just put it up Friday. Yesterday. Check that out too. That was good. Now, paranormal, I kind of, like I said, I'm not looking to die tomorrow. No, not anyway. After my dad passed away, I was 18. I just graduated high school. It was in 1990. Smash the like. Yeah, hey, what's up, Venger? It's my brother from another mother out in Texas. What's up, Venger? It's after my dad died. Here's my train of thought, and then you guys could throw in and chime in anytime if you have any, whatever. We're here. We're put on this earth. We live our lives. We do what we do. We have some type of purpose. God knows what that purpose is. Still trying to figure it out. But when we die, we go to, I believe, because I've seen spots where we go to another plane of I want to call it a plane, a level, or a level plane, another being, however you want to call it. But wonder what's our role in that life? Like, what do we do? Like, what are we supposed to do, or what's going on? Oh, cool. Oh, thanks for hanging out with us. Let's give a shout out to Massachusetts. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You and everybody else, all my new subscribers to my channel, Mike's channel. We have Sick Myth. He's out today. He was running around today, but Sick Myth channel. I have all the links in the description. We all got great content. We all bring a different. Mike has the Ghetto Theater Wilkes-Barre, which you could find some interesting clips on his channel. Sick Myth.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sick Myth. He talks about history, local history. He's a local history buff. So anybody that likes kind of history, even I know some places it wouldn't be local for you guys because you guys don't live in here, but it's still history itself is pretty interesting. He puts up Mayan. I am a wedding officiant, so I put up wedding videos. I do food. I do cooking shows. I do, yeah. And then now I want to get back into the, paranormal research. It's, but as I was saying, like after my dad died, I want to know where does your soul go? What is your next, what, do you have a purpose? Do you don't have a purpose? What happened? That's what my curiosity always was. And I've talked to priests back in the day. I've talked to elders. I've talked to because I really wanted to find out information. And again, nobody knows what actually happens to you until you die, and then you'll eventually find out. But from how it was explained to me is that we're in the living, the afterlife. There's a best way to explain it. There's a fine line between us and the afterlife. They can see us, we can't see them, but sometimes you might catch something out of the corner of your eye. That's maybe if you ever had that happen, but that's what got me interested in the paranormal. Like, do you watch over your loved ones? Do you become remember the show Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon? He was he would help people. He was an angel, but he helped people. Like, what do you do? Or do you just kind of roam the stars and hang out for eternity? Who knows? But yeah, that's what got me. And I have another good story for you, Ashley. Again, it's on my friend's channel. It wasn't on my channel. It's on my friend's channel. I don't know if he has it still or not. He just bought a couple years ago. He bought one of the voice boxes, and I was in October, November. It could have been January. There was snow. There was a good couple feet of snow out. We went to a cemetery. We went to nice. It's cool. So we went to a cemetery. We went actually to I have relatives in the St. Mary's in Hanover and the St. Mary's in Plymouth. So we wanted to try the box out. So we went to St. Mary's in Plymouth, and they always say you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to tempt or not supposed to like harass spirits. That's the underwritten kind of golden rule. Well, my buddy got one of those SLS cameras. It was a nice looking camera. I don't know I think he got rid of it because he doesn't do it anymore. And hold that thought, Mark. I want to talk to that too. So we took the camera up, and the way it sends out almost like radar, and it comes back. It gives you images. It looks like stick people. Best way to explain it. And we caught a lot of like those images around the cemetery, the tombstones, stuff like that, which was pretty cool. And so I'm walking around going, hey, who's here? Talk to me, blah, 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 blah. I want to talk to my relatives, yada, yada, yada. So my buddy goes, hey, check this. He goes, here, check this out. Look, and we see something was crawling on the ground like maybe a baby. I like a stick figure crawling on the ground, so that's all I could assume it was maybe a baby or who knows. So I'm just getting more aggravated because I'm not hearing what I want to hear. So I'm like, I just get mad. I'm like, someone or show yourself or talk to me or something. Well, now you can hear as we're doing it, you can hear on the box, you hear little like words bouncing here and there. But after I yelled at the ghost or spirit, you heard clear as day, no. And again, I looked at my buddy who's me and went, oh crap. We didn't say, we said like, oh yeah, but I'm not going to swear here. So yeah, that was another interesting time of paranormal research. Let's see, Mark put, I once went to an exorcism of a college friend's house he bought in Ohio. It was scary as hell. Proud lights went out, voices and languages we didn't understand, but he paid the medium $100. No more activity. I don't know. So, Mike or Gene, do you have any good paranormal stories?
Go ahead. You go first, Mike. I guess he doesn't. Growing up, I used to have a shadow figure that would come visit me all the time.
Shadow person, nice. Well, maybe not, but
it wasn't evil though. I have heard so many stories that shadow people are evil, and I never got that from this person.
That's what I've heard too. Like mostly when I heard shadow people, they're bad. But I would assume they're good shadow people. So that's cool. And
visited me right up until I got married for the first time.
Maybe they're trying to warn you and say, "Don't get married."
Should have.
You would have said that. Said that to me. Don't do it. Run. Do I regret getting married? I don't regret getting married. But will I do it again? Who knows? Probably not. I never had the chance to go to an exorcism. I want to, but I do, but I don't. Because if a spirit could attach themselves to you, and you could actually have, open a door to. I push the boundaries now with it, but you could really, if something attaches and comes home with you, you're gonna have a hell of a time getting that spirit out. The GF has a friend that her daughter, um, they got a, they had a, she had like her daughter had like a sleepover party, like girls do, and blah 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 blah. One of them brought a Ouija board, and even though yes, they're set up to be sold as a game and board game, you could open up a door that you cannot close with a Ouija board, and that's what happened here. And from what the GF told me was, she was talking to her friend, and her friend said, lately there's some like weird stuff going. My house is not in harmony for some reason. And then she found out that her daughter was playing with a Ouija board. So it took him a few months, but she finally got it like. But yeah, so playing with Ouija boards, you could do some, you could cause something, maybe not.
Yeah.
Oh, last week we were talking about the new movie, The Conjuring, that they're bringing out a new Conjuring movie, and somehow it's based around the Smurl house. Oh yeah, I'm going, Mark. I'm not sure what my format's going to be yet because I'm still trying to put everything together. I'm going to ask False if he wants to come with me again. I know you guys are welcome to come too. I don't know if False does the paranormal anymore. I don't know. I see him from time to time, but we don't it hasn't come up, so I don't know what he's doing. But I definitely would like to this summer.
I would love to do it, but
you got to start. You have to walk first.
Yeah. Broken leg.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah. We could set you up at base camp, and
But that's no fun.
Yeah, I know. There is a, which I'm sure I'm not going to catch nothing because it's right near it's called the Jenkins Harding Cemetery, and it's literally five steps and you walk through it. It's if you're coming from King, say you're coming from 44 or Exeter, and you're going to over to Pittsburgh. There's that little. It's like a triangle. It sits between. It looks like a triangle. It's a cemetery, but it's a form of like a triangle. It's small. It's really, but it's every year they have it decked out for like Memorial Day. They have flags up and everything. There's a cannon sitting in the front of it, but it's right near traffic. I'm gonna go there one of these nights to see if anything, but I'm gonna probably say I doubt it because it's like I said, right smack dab in the middle of everything. So, but you never know.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. There's a place called Esther's Rock that Fred did a story on. That's over in Wyoming. That's pretty interesting. And the story behind that one, quick story. I'm gonna put his channel up in case anybody wants to check out Sick Math. Check out any of these stories. HTTPS. Sorry, I can't talk and type at the same thing. There. Click on the Sick Myth channel and check out his stories. But Esther's Rock, Queen Esther's Rock. For all of you that are into history, the Battle of Wyoming just happened literally. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Mark. Yeah, I don't go near Ouija boards. For all you history buffs, the Battle of Wyoming literally happened down in where I'm at now, in the area that I'm living now. That's where it all went down. And Queen Esther's Rock is over in Wyoming. And maybe I'll take it right over tomorrow. I'll take a video of it. What the story was, or Queen Esther, there were Indians, and they captured, captured the infantry. They captured. She would take them to this rock and literally bash their heads on this rock. That's basically point blank what happened. And but I was over there once. I didn't get any activity, but Fred did a nice write up on it. He did a nice story on it. Mark, that's why I won't. I mean, I will push the boundaries with paranormal, but not with a Ouija board. No, I've had too many personal experiences. Especially I grew up in East End. Anybody knows East End, Wilkes-Barre, and growing up now, it was an older, 3-story house. The top story was the attic, which we just used for storage. But our main floor and our parlor. Okay, now back in the day, when you came down into my kitchen, it was the kitchen. Then you go to the TV room, and then there was what they call it, the parlor. So what happened was and it would only happen when it was dark. Like I was younger. My mom would be like, "Oh, go make sure the front door's locked." Hey, he's back, and I would literally run to that door, lock it, and run back to the middle room because something in that parlor, it was an evil vibe. It was a bad vibe. Now my oldest sister has more what I'm looking for. She had more issues. She I can't think of the name. Damn it, I can't say the word. She encountered more things than I did in my old house. But cause I always said that parlor just seemed, and it wasn't during the day. It was only at night. It gave me a weird, scary vibe. And now my bedroom was actually right above it, and it was fine. It was just in that part of that house, in the room. And so yeah, so I've had paranormal encounters since I was 7 or 8. Not knowing what they were, just I knew something was in that parlor. Something I want to say it was almost like a doorway to hell. That's the best way I could explain it. Doorway to hell. Yeah, it's wasn't like I was literally, well, I was 7 or 8. I mean, I was scared. Now I probably go back to the house and say, "Hey, do you have any paranormal in this house anymore?" That's what I would do. But yeah, so that's why, like I said, I'm not a medium, but I've experienced stuff that I can't explain. A cool one though. So it was a year. It was a year after my dad died. Again, my dad died December 20th, 1990. So it was 1991. It was Christmas Day. My oldest sister was married, but my older sister was still living home. My mom goes, "Go out to your sister's car and there's a case of beer." Because my mom would have family over. And my dad always had beer in the house. So she would always have beer in the house for my relatives or whoever comes over. So she's like, "Go up to the car, and get the beer out of your sister's trunk." All right, no problem. So I walk up the back. Now the car was facing down the alley, and sitting on the side of the road down the ice. So I opened up the trunk, pulled out the beer, put it down. And as I'm pulling the beer out of the trunk, I just happened to just look above, like the way it was angled, like between my house and my neighbor's house, for about what felt like maybe 2 minutes, if that. It was a glowing cross. And I need glasses to see far away. I know my eyes up, but let me tell you, I saw this cross perfectly clear as a bell, and within as quick as I saw it, as quick as it was gone. But I'd like to say, that was some say, "Hey, maybe my dad, hey, I'm still here somehow." I mean, I don't know, but that was another neat experience. One thing I will say though, I did see an angel. Okay, and I'm getting goosebumps even just talking about this one. Before my sister and her husband had kids, my brother-in-law was in in the military, so he was off on a. He had to go every 2 weeks. He had to go away to do training and drill, whatever you want to call it. So I was still living home. So my sister goes to me. My sister goes, "Do you want to go to church with me?" All right, yeah. I dropped my mom. I'm like, well, I'll drop mom off at work because my mom had to go back to work, and I'll pick you up. So we went to an apostolic church over in um, Plains. It's an apostolic church on the hill. It's a little church. So I pick her. We go to the church, and we sat about maybe 3 seats back from the preacher, and he was talking. He was an older gentleman. Um, and what happened was I'm sitting listening to what he was saying, and the best way to explain it, like everything around the preacher, like my eyes got fuzzy. It looked like it was like I couldn't see, just it was fuzzy, almost like a fuzzy when the old TV channels would be fuzz, like you but it looked like best way to explain it, two imaginary, it's not two lines, it's almost like imaginary pencils drawing wings, and it was like I said, I need glasses to see far, but it was like an angel came down to that church, was standing behind the preacher, so I couldn't see who it was, but I saw the big wings behind it. And I know we see pictures, of white wings. They weren't white; they were like dirty, like kind of dirty white, off of dirty white. They weren't like pure white, but I could see the fiber, like the feathered hair, whatever you want to call it, of these angel wings. And as quick as it showed up, it disappeared and everything went back to normal. I'm like wow. So I just have this. I'm sitting there and I have this really stupid look on my face. I'm like, what did I just see? So my sister looks at me. She taps me like what's wrong? And I'm like, I honestly I don't know. I said I'll tell you when we got out. So we left. And I'm like, here's what I saw, and I explained to her what happened. She's like, yeah, people said they've seen stuff like that before. Well, about 6 months later, the preacher passed away. So was someone telling me he was going to be, lifted as an angel, or was an angel standing behind him just waiting? I don't know. Oh, that's cool. Mark probably going to get a group up spin. Depending where you end up. Well, Northwest, nah, it won't be near me. But hey, you never know. There's an old boys club camp we went to, kids. 2 kids. Oh, that's scary. Guys, I'm just kind of just catching up the chat, just seeing what's going on here, because I know I could talk my butt off. And okay, I caught up on that. All right, so yeah, that's my paranormal experiences. They're not intense like you see on TV, but no, it's I like them. Now with Memorial Day, I know we take a moment to reflect on all the soldiers and everything that passed on to say, give us our freedom and stuff like that. But also, the Sunday before Memorial Day, my buddy has a cookout. And every year I make the hot dog chili, and that's what I did today. Yeah, I believe it, Mark, and here's the thing, I am technically an ordained minister of non-denomination. I don't call myself that. I call myself a wedding officiant or an officiant. And I have nothing against Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, married Methodist. Now I'm just thrown in the mix of everything. So, but here's the thing, and when I sit down with possible potential couples that want me to do their wedding, I'll always have a sit down with them, and I'll say again, I have nothing against Catholic priests. I have nothing against the Catholic Church. But here's my question: a Catholic priest cannot legally get married. So how could somebody talk to a couple about marriage when they've never went through it? They're trying to preach to you about how marriage does it. They're not married. They don't know. They don't honestly know. So when I sit down with my couples, they're like, do you do a in the cat? I can't think of the word again. I can't think of words tonight. I'm sorry, guys. Um, when couples go to the Catholic Church, they have to go for so many weeks. Gene, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the word. My guy, I need to pick your brain for the word because I don't remember. But I say to the couples, I'm like, well, I consider this my sit down because you guys know what you want to get married. Hold that thought, Mark. So I always say, no, this is my sit down. I can just consider to sit down and just talk to get to know you guys. You guys know if you want to get married or not. That's why you're here talking to me. I could tell you that I could tell them about my own experiences, which it did not last. I'm divorced. But at least I could say, hey, I could talk to you about marriage because I've been through it. Let's see. Mark has a question. Is this the holiday for the Hillbilly Parade? Redneck Parade? No, July 4th. I will be there for the July 4th Redneck Parade. Don't you worry. I will be there. As long as I can have breath in my lungs and I can walk out the door, I will be there with a camera. Redneck. If anybody has not seen on my channel, even to the new subscribers, on my Outside the Box playlist, there is it's called the Redneck Parade, and I have two parades up, one from recent, one from years ago. And literally, if you could pull it or drive it, it's in this parade. And last year, it's funny. One guy was driving. It was in the back of a truck throwing beer out to people. It's but yeah, it's just a good time. It's a fun parade, and you see some interesting stuff. Watch that video. In fact, before we go off tonight, I'll put the link in the. In fact, way I could do it now. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. So Gina, how's the cat situation going?
Yeah, same. I lay down now and I have like 5 of them lay on me.
Any adoptions, or did you get any new ones?
No. Not taking any new ones in because they're not going. A lot of my friends know that I do this with cats, and they go out and get cats from other places. So,
Gotcha.
Willow's the last one I took in that she didn't go anywhere. I had one more, but I didn't even have him in the house. He went right out.
Gotcha. But yeah, I do have the Redneck Parade. I'm just trying to find it. I want to copy the link. I'll put the link in the chat. Because it is fun to watch. It is really cool to watch. I need a moment to find it. That's all.
Oh, I'm getting really tired. Sorry about this.
No. In case anybody doesn't know, Gina broke her leg, and she is tied up and laid up, and she could tell you the rest.
Yeah, I decided to try to learn ballet while drinking. That's the only way I could really describe it, because I really don't know what happened. I think I was trying to avoid stepping on Willow and just fell. But it's been about a month now.
You've been laid up for
up to 12 weeks non-weight bearing. So I am bored half the time.
Yeah, for years ago I had.
Hey, Susan.
Hi, Susan. Still looking for my.
Well, and this is my first broken bone ever.
Yeah, I've never had a broken bone. I've had my knee scoped. I've had my nose done, deviated septum. But I've never I actually had like a broken bone. Like where I was like, like fell and broke a bone.
Yeah.
I've never had that happen.
Well,
Now I've had,
you know how they say go big or go home?
you do it all the way big.
I was home, so I had to go big.
Let's see.
So I broke 6 bones actually.
Ooh.
My tib, fib, and 4 bones in my foot.
Let's see. Oh, come on. Computer's being dumb right now. Hold that thought. I'm still working on it because I want you to. This is what Mark's talking about. What Mark's talking about is it's the redneck parade.
Oh, I know.
I thought I had one in 24.
There's that girl.
No, I have to have one in 24.
Yeah. Such a good little girl. As you can see, I have 2 cats on me right now. Well, I did have 2 cats on me. 2 cats behind me. I have about 3 of them by my feet.
Cats just love you.
Except for when I had the walker. They all
They
go
don't like the
running.
walker?
No. They're afraid of it.
I know it's here. Why can't I find it?
Whew.
That's what I say. So what's new? I thought I had more than that. I thought I had 24.
Nothing new here. Okay.
I'll find it and put it up eventually. I don't know what the hell.
Sorry, there's somebody walking across the street with a flashlight, but it's not even showing where they're walking. It's going at the people's houses.
Oh, let's keep an eye. Let's see what's going on over there.
Dumbass.
Mark. How you doing, Mark G? Lived in a haunted house in Beaver County. Worked the midnight shift. That would literally probably I've never had that happen where I come home and find drawers opened or things moved. That would probably yeah, I would,
See, I find stuff like that interesting.
oh, so do I, but it would probably at first scare the crap out of me because I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
So,
It was here somewhere. Someone's chiming in, but give me 1 second. Did we lose somebody? Hold on.
something about paranormal experiences.
Oh, no, I heard a chime. So I thought maybe Fred was going to chime in. Okay, no, we're here. We're all good. All right, I'm gonna check this link out, guys. This is the link for last year's Redneck Parade up in Thornhurst, Pennsylvania. I knew I had it here somewhere. Mark, I would be crapping myself when I walked in and saw it, but then I'd be like, "Oh, this is cool." Yeah, I just put the link in for the Redneck Parade. Oh, how did I get down here? I got moved. So yeah, definitely check that out. We have a fun time. And yes, Miss Susan, we're talking paranormal. Ghost stories. However, yeah. I remember you had a couple of good ones. I remember you telling us back, throughout the time.
Me?
That would be interesting.
Sorry.
Mike, any good ghost stories that you know of?
Too many. I'll give you one. There is if you go out on Route 309, a little bit past Mountaintop, between Mountaintop and Butler Township, there's a little bar / hotel called the Shalimar.
I've been there. I know where you're talking.
The Shalimar is haunted as hell. The Shalimar was a brothel at one point.
Really?
And yeah, that's actually how it was the house of ill repute on the edge of town as far as Mountaintop goes. That's how it began its life. They would also do public hangings out there because Mountaintop at the time didn't have a municipal building and they didn't want to do that right in the middle of town. So they would actually hang people there. I knew guys, we all worked in a factory called AEP Industries. It's still there, within walking distance of the Shalimar. And I knew guys that lived there from when you could. The new owners won't allow it, but the old owners would allow you to live week to week, where you would pay like a week's rent, hotel fee or whatever, and they would just let you live there. I knew two guys who did that, and one guy, when they were cleaning out his room, they cleaned it out, and then like the next day, all the furniture in the room, from largest thing like the bed to smallest thing, like whatever the smallest thing was on an end table or nightstand, was stacked from the floor to the ceiling, and the room
Oh,
was
you
locked all night. And
like
nobody was in it.
Like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it was like a pyramid.
Oh my, that would be freaky as hell.
And it's not the only time it ever happened. Like there are instances, like I said, I knew two guys who lived there where things would move around the room on their own. I knew the bouncer there for quite a long time. I forget his name now. I wouldn't mention it here anyway.
Right.
But he would tell me there are cold spots in the bar. Don't everybody who works there is terrified of the cellar. Like nobody, like when it's hard. Like if one of the more popular tapped beers goes empty, it is tough as hell to get anybody to go downstairs to change out the tap, to change out the barrel, because everybody's terrified of it. Everybody's terrified of the basement. Yeah, I would say, I somehow I think the current ownership would probably view any requests, for an investigation. They probably would just look at it as bad press and not want to do it anyway. But you never know. I mean, if they're approached properly.
It's also it's like
But I have a million of them.
I just looked it up, Jay. Mars, PA is 4.5 hours away.
Damn. If I knew I could I can't. One thing now, like I used to love to drive. Like I would drive from like here to Florida and wouldn't bother me. Now I drive 2-3 hours and I'm like falling asleep.
Oh, right. I just said hello on Mike's
I'm like, wait a minute.
on his X channel, just to see. So if anybody is watching it on X,
AKA formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, I have a premium account over there. I might be canceling it though. I don't really use it. I don't really use much anymore. I'm not much of a social media or even a media person. I'm kind of like to the point where I stopped paying attention to news. I don't know. A lot of what I'm watching, it's about 8-bit computers from the 1980s and how they evolved into what we have now. It's kind of like interesting to me.
Excuse me. Mark, let's see, which Mark was it? Mark G. It was Mark G. Mentioned Coast to Coast AM. I haven't listened to that show in years, but I know what you're talking about. Mark Craig. Okay. Mark G.
George Norrie, Art Bell.
Yeah. I used to listen. I haven't listened to him in years, but I forget how I ended up would listen to it that early in the morning. But Coast to Coast AM, I would catch every so often. Are they even still on the air?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That show will never go anywhere. I can tell you about paranormal, what you would consider or call paranormal stuff that happened to me this past week.
Really?
It happens. What most people would call paranormal is something that I absolutely bathe in, I live in, I soak in. You could probably, it'd be fair to say that I have 1 foot in this world and 1 foot in another one. Because I'm constantly between the two places. You know, good example, Tuesday, I talked to my mother. My mother is going to be dead now for 10 years. And she and I sat down and had a conversation while I was in meditation.
See, I wish I've never had that happen. Like, I would love for that to happen, but that has never happened to me. Like meditation. Like,
I go into meditation every day at work. Basically, most people think I'm in my car taking a nap, and that's crap. I like them to think that because it's simpler. But no, I'm actually in a really deep state of meditation. And last week or this past week, I got called out. And when my mother calls me out, it's a very familiar thing. I pass very familiar landmarks. They're very hard to describe in a 3-dimensional world. The best, I was trying to describe one to Gina. There's this one place I pass. It's in a Roman stadium. It's a very narrow ledge, and yet thousands of people live there. But it looks like if you were to step on it, you would fall off. And it's because the 3D mind can't handle the 4D representation that's in front of it, and it tries to interpret it the best it can. But I recognize it when I see it, and I know, okay, I'm getting dragged out to my mom's place. And because that's what she does. She drags me out. And this time it was more or less, how's life? How's this? And there were no words. Everything over there, you were communicating images, emotions. If you have to use words, it's considered very awkward, very cumbersome.
That's actually was going to be my question. Like, do you talk like do you hear her like her voice like it was when she was alive, or is it like just like in thought?
Okay. The best way to answer that is like I feel the vibration of her voice without hearing it, if that makes sense.
Okay. It does.
There's a certain vibe the woman puts out, and I pick up on it. It's kind of like hearing her voice, and it kind of isn't. Time is very distorted when you're there. Well, I remember you talking about looking at the earth. If you
Right.
were out of body doing that, then you have to experience time distortion, because time doesn't exist there, not the way we measure it.
That's keep going, but that's something I want to touch. I've heard something like that, and yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Another thing that's been happening to me lately. Oh, you're fine. Another thing that's been happening to me lately. Gina's giving me a look there. Like, is he really going to talk about it? I've also been getting voices coming in, channeled voices. They make absolutely zero sense. But I get pulled back, and somebody will say things to me, and this week I just started writing it down, because it's like, you know what, if I start writing it all down, maybe when it's put into context, if it's put into, like, okay, if I have a few days worth of stuff, maybe if I put it all together, it'll make some kind of sense, and it really
Right.
isn't. But I think in their own way, they think they're giving me information. And again, it's tough because language is a barrier, and they're trying to use language.
And technically, they like. I wish I could find it. Like I said, my oldest sister has some type of sixth sense, and she was in, like, years ago. She did meditation and things like that, and she was married. She was married. She was in her own home, but it was like around Christmas time, and she was just, her husband was asleep, her daughter was asleep. She was just downstairs, just in the quiet, just sitting on a chair in a rocker, and like she started like hearing my dad's voice, like almost. So she started like jotting things like on a piece of paper, just so she wouldn't forget what said or what she heard or thought she heard. And I remember reading that. I have it here, so I gotta find it. Oh, and but it mentioned, and now this is again my dad talking to my sister, saying basically time here, basically saying something like time here moves different than what we're used to. That's when he said, I'm like, wait, I heard that before.
There's all kinds of explanations for it, really good ones too. For one thing, it's my understanding that now we're going to get into metaphysics here and quantum physics. Time is still. Time does not move. We move through time. There's, time's really not in motion. We're moving through it, and we interpret it as events happening and that sort of thing. But time is not in motion at all. And that goes back into what I was touching on last week a bit with simulation theory, the works of, like I said, a great place to start is a guy by the name of Thomas Campbell. And he wrote a series of 3 books called My Big Toe. And TOE is an acronym for Theory of Everything. And he discusses the math behind the simulation. I mean, any of you guys out there hear of what's called the Fibonacci sequence?
I've never heard that.
That's basically nature's way of trying to get to the phi ratio. And there's so much information in that. I can give you every sacred number like 144, a dozen. Why is it gross 144? 144 casing stones on the 144,000 casing stones on the Great Pyramid of Giza. 144 is a sacred number. It's the first number in Fibonacci, which is divisible by 9, and 9 is the end all and be all in numerology, because 9 is everything and nothing at the same time, and I can show you how that works. But there are mathematics behind everything. Like why does the spiral in the galaxy identical to the way a flower blooms in a spiral? These are all mathematical constants, and they're mathematical constants because the universe is a program. It's a simulation. So another good guy to read. I'd forgotten his name last week, but I remember this week. Read Chris Langan. You could probably find him by searching out the man with the highest IQ in the world, which he may or may not have, depending on how it's measured and whatever. But Chris Langan has a very similar theory of everything that lines up with what Thomas Campbell says is the theory of everything. And again, it all comes back to this is a simulation. There are like 6 factors in the universe as far as the relation to gravity, to the relation to matter, to the relation of mass. If any of these numbers were 1/10, 1/64 of whatever, like the tiniest infinitesimal number away from one another, then this universe would not harbor life. It's no accident that that's another thing. Like people will, when I get into these subjects, people will, do you believe in God? Yeah, you have to. There's no other explanation in the universe. There is some kind of central being in it that put this in motion. The Big Bang. I used to always say, "Give me one miracle, and I could tell you how everything in the universe works." And that's the scientific The Big Bang was actually a boot sequence. That's the computer booting up. That was the Big Bang.
I did not know that. But it's
most people don't.
I mean, I believe there's a creator now. Some people call him God, some people call him Allah, some people call him whoever. But I believe there's one entity that started this whole thing of life as we know.
It's all, if you want to go Judeo-Christian, the Bible. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." That's actually a very loaded statement, and it goes back to you were created in God's image, or God is God created man in his own image and likeness. Basically, you're a chip off the old block. You're the being that we call God is literally perfect. You cannot stand in the presence of God because God will not allow anything within his boundary, which is very tight, that's imperfect. Because if he allows anything in there imperfect, then he will no longer be perfect. There's also schools of thought that says that God is not perfect and that, we're a reflection of that. But basically, God sent us out little chunks of himself. He broke off little chunks of consciousness, individuate. Now, people make a big deal about this too. Like, oh, what is consciousness? Like it's this huge, huge question. Like, what consciousness is the simplest thing in the world to define. And people make this molehill, or I'm sorry, this mountain out of this molehill. Consciousness is awareness with a choice. That's it. And if you want to take it further, it's the ability to recognize patterns. So it's pattern recognition within awareness with a choice. That's consciousness. That's everything about it. So you're broken off from a larger entity that we call God to basically come into this place and make choices that quote unquote matter, choices that define and you can learn from and you can define yourself with and all this other stuff. And then at the end of, you have your life review when you die and all that, and you take it back and everybody looks at it and says, oh, okay, I can see why you did that. Okay, well, you might have done this differently. And then that gets into the wheel of karma, which is a damn death trap for souls. If you like being here, that's fine. It's a game. This is a sandbox for consciousness. We're all playing a game here. And we're all learning from one another, and we're learning from the situations that generally we create. Life has questions, life has answers, and any answer that I'm coming up with that you disagree with, you know what? You're free to disagree with it. You're also free to go out and do your research and prove me wrong.
I think it's interesting because again, we really don't know what happens on the other side or how everything was created. I mean, we read books, but I mean, I find this very interesting.
Talk to a guy named Bob Monroe. Bob Monroe actually sat down and mapped out what we would call the other side.
Really?
Bob Monroe, yes. He wrote a few books. He's no longer with us, but Bob Monroe created the Monroe Institute. It's in Virginia. These people know how to get out of their body at will, and they can, if you're looking for answers about, the other side and what consciousness does there, dimensions and all those sorts of things, the Monroe Institute has those answers, plain and simple. And they have science and research behind it. HeartMath Institute is another great place to go to understand the physiology of heart and mind. The heart actually has brain cells in it. The heart actually is more responsible. There are more commands coming from the heart to the brain, telling the brain what to do than there are the other way around. And that's science. That's science. That's not, that's not woo science. That's actual science. And that's actually, here you go, folks. One of the secrets of life. If you want to have a life that you feel is worth living, you have to bring what I just said. The heart has brain cells in it. The heart actually thinks for itself to a great degree. If you could bring the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain and the heart, the trilogy, into congruence, then you can do whatever the hell you want. Most people, they're out of balance with all that.
That's interesting. Like, I would love, Virginia, depending where it's not that, Virginia's not far away. A couple hour drive.
No, it isn't. I've been there many times in my life. They have seminars too. Like, they have getaways where, I'd love to go to one, where everybody just sits in a room and they have their mat and they're meditating and they put on what's called the binaural frequency. You have two frequencies, like say one's like 40 hertz and it's going like, and then you have like another frequency that's, just a few hertz below it going. So when you're listening to it in headphones, you're hearing. You listen to that long enough, you could actually just pop out of your body. It puts you into the same state as sleep paralysis, which I've experienced since I was a little kid.
When I was a kid, I've had out of body. Like I said, my latest one, last time I had. Excuse. Like, the really last out of body I had was when I saw that glowy, what I would assume was heaven. Again, I don't know, but like I could see the earth in front of me. I see this glowy thing here, but everything looked so clear as a bell. I don't remember if I felt anything. Just like wow, like I knew where I was at, and then like like you wake up. When I was a kid, I would dream that like I was like flying around like Superman, but it felt real. I could have had an out of body there too. I don't know. I don't, but it felt like I was right there.
Flying is the best part of an out of body experience.
It was cool. I mean, I could still remember to this day, like literally like flying around my neighborhood, like just around my neighborhood, just because I was like, wow, I could like do this. Like, look at this.
When I was little, I was less imaginative with it. I would just float from one corner of the room to the other, pushing off the corner of the room, and then like seeing out that like a swimming pool.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I felt like for some reason I decided I was flying like Superman, like around my neighborhood, like around the block I went, and I remember waking up going, because I remember this to this day, because I was like what? That felt like it really happened. I was a kid. My mom would be like, "Oh, you're just dreaming," and stuff, like But then I look back, I'm like, wait a minute.
And I guarantee you, if you think about it long enough, you would realize that experience was actually more real than what we're experiencing here right now.
Could be.
This to me, this is a dream. This is a video game. This is The Sims. And what as soon as you figure out that, as long as when you take the mind leap of you're not a body, you're a piece of consciousness that inhabits a body. You are not a body. You have a body. This body has an expiration date. In this world. And then when you get past,
I was gonna say that's what I was kind of saying. Like you just mentioned that our body have an expiration date, and when we're expired, we're done. Then what happens next? Like
what happens when you get out of your car?
Close the door.
That's what I'm saying. The car. I mean, I do it all the time. Like, oh, somebody's parked behind me. I identify my consciousness, or my consciousness identifies itself with the car. I'll look out on the camera. Well, who's that pulling up behind me? Who parked in front of me? That's not me out there.
That's your car.
That's a little purple bug that I paid $9,000 for. That's not me. And when I get out of that car, when I'm in the car's not me. And when I get out of the car is still not me. But I'm piloting the car. Well, I mean, that's the analogy works. I mean, you're not this body. You don't look I don't look anything like this outside of the body. I'm a little orb of light. I look like a sun. We all do. You look like you ever see the movie The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
Where like the mother's looking at pictures of Haley Joel Osment, and there are all these like little flickers of light around them and stuff.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
That's what we are. I mean, that's what we actually are. That's what consciousness is. In the Bible, they would refer to it as like the silver spark, or and then there's the whole thing of the silver cord. When you're out of body, you're attached to your body by a silver cord, and that's the beginning of Ecclesiastes. Yes. When this clay pot breaks and the silver cord parts. The clay pot being the body and the silver cord being the force and essence that binds the soul, the consciousness, to the body. Yeah, that eventually breaks. And you're no longer attached to it. So you get out of the car. Car won't run anymore. Transmission's blown out. Motors, the engine's done. Whatever. You step out of it, you look at it and say, wow, what a broken down piece of shit that is.
I've experienced cars like that before. My what did I get? I got it was a 2002 Ford Taurus from JD Byrider. Yeah.
I'm just saying, by the time I'm done with this body, I'm not one of these people. I'm not out there running around the block and eating leaves. And I'm here to have an experience. I'm not here. If you become a slave to your body, like I'm going to lift weights for 3 hours today, and I'm going to do aerobics for an hour today, and you're just a slave to your body. I'm going to try to keep this thing looking as young as possible for as long as possible.
I hear that.
Why?
Which Mark Wald favorite wing place. I gotta say, like, I haven't been going, like, the last time I got wings. Where did I get wings from last? Oh, Luca Pizza in West Pittston. They were pretty good. But I was gonna say I had some coming in my head. Damn it. But I mean, it's like we're here for so long, and then like I think I always wanted to know though the other question, because like my parents grew up, my parents were married for 25, 26 years, and then when my dad died, it's like when my mom died, was she like? Do they like? Does she and my dad like do things to get like do they? They say you're supposed to meet you'll see your family or your relatives, but like, do you interact with them? Like,
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. I've seen, like I said, I was literally talking to my mother earlier this week. A lot of times, not whenever, but a lot, and usually when somebody in my family is going to die, there is a house on the other side where everybody meets and gathers to welcome a new soul out of my lineage.
Okay.
And I see people there from generations upon generations of my family, and they all gather and they all welcome somebody back. And I've seen this. I've been there for it a couple of times actually, and it's the kind of thing where I'll get a phone call where hey, sorry to tell you, so and so died, and I'm hearing it and understanding it, and at the same time, I'm saying to myself, inward, I'm saying to myself, yeah, I was there.
That's interesting.
Guys, I'm gonna head off. I'm getting tired and I'm not feeling too good.
All right.
All right, sweetie.
I know you have.
You too.
Have a good night, Gene. Talk to you next time. There's also like now through, like I said, my oldest sister has a sixth sense, and happened one time only. Well, actually twice, but two different times. With my oldest sister, like she started talking like it was her talking, but she started talking weird. Here, long story short, she was channeling my mom, and when I realized, I'm like, night, Susan. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Or if you're saying night to Gina, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm like, because when my mom was alive, to kind of give you a little bit of flashback, when my mom was alive, she'd pray to my dad to ask questions. I'd get weird dreams with the answer. And after my mom died, I just assumed like that connection would still be there. Well, it's not, for whatever reason. And through my oldest, I'm like, well, so when I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds like my mom. And she's like, yes, it's me. So I'm like, wow. And I said, well, why don't you try and talk to me? We had this connection. She goes, you can't hear me. So it sounds like, oh, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to. Yeah, gotcha.
Excuse me.
No, it's so I'm like, well, why don't you talk to me? Why can't I hear you? She's like, you can't hear me. For whatever reason, I guess I'm not on the same wave. You have to be on like a wavelength or some type of whatever you want to call it, but I'm not there anymore. But so I said to her, I said, one of my quick questions, and it was only for like not even 5 minutes, then she was gone. But it's like, I said, well, do you see, and my brother, I have a brother, died before I was even thought of. Or do you see dad? And the answer was no. No, that she just misunderstand my quite like. So I don't know. That's what I was wondering. Like, do they? Now they always say when you die, a loved one comes to take you across, and I believe that.
Oh, I can tell you a story about that.
When I want to hear it, and but what happened was when my mom was the youngest, so she had an older sister and an older brother. When my uncle passed away, then my mom passed away, and my aunt passed away a couple of years ago. She lived the longest. So GF, she has paranormal experiences, and she's like, hey, I gotta ask you something. I'm like, okay, what's going on? She goes, apparently your mom's okay. I'm like, my mom's, what are you telling? And then she explained the whole story, and I'm like, because mom had dementia when she, dementia wipes your brain out, like your mind out.
I've experienced it with people in my life. I understand.
And so, but she also said, I was there to meet my aunt. Like she was waiting for my aunt to die to take her over to wherever they take them to. And I thought that was pretty cool.
And it's not everybody either. Sometimes I've heard of instances where an angel will guide what somebody will call an angel.
Right.
Will guide them to, the other side. You see, I'm the kind of person, I'm a polyglot when it comes to this sort of thing, because I take it all in. I take in what, Buddhists believe in. I think there's a lot of credible things there. Like, when you see like the old monk is dying, and the younger monks are all gathered around his bed and they're chanting, and the thing that they're chanting is, go to the clear light of the void, go to the clear light of the void, go to the clear light of the void. Because you get a couple of shots at it. Like, think of the movie Ghost, where he keeps seeing the light appear.
Right.
According to the Buddhists, if you don't go there the first time, the next time you see that light, you're going to be reincarnated. Because the first light is the way out, and if you show fear, then you're not ready to leave, and you have to be reincarnated. Maybe one of the reasons why your mother doesn't see your father, they died quite a few, in this place, quite a few years apart. He may have already been reincarnated somewhere else. But then again, you also leave a piece of yourself behind. Like, I'm only giving a portion of my consciousness to this avatar. Think of playing a multiplayer online video game. Bless you.
Excuse me.
You don't give your whole consciousness over to that character to play them, on the internet. And likewise, your consciousness is not giving its whole consciousness over. It could actually. I've heard different things where some essences of consciousness will play several avatars at once, and not necessarily in this world. So, or this dimension, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I'm going to call it.
But as far as what you're calling the sixth sense, there's actually 7 of them.
Oh.
5 are known, 2 are not known. 1 is kind of known. One of the unknown ones are kind of known, and that's what people refer to as the sixth sense. We all have it. Everybody has it. And, it's just to what degree, and it's like anything else. If you work at it, it's like a muscle. It'll build up.
My dad played Coach.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been studying this stuff for, I started probably in my teens and 20s with things like transcendental magic and the works of people like Aleister Crowley and Arthur Edward Wade and Samuel Little, McGregor Mathers. These were the people that formed what was called at the turn of the century the Golden Dawn, and they were an elite group of essentially black magicians who, the guy who wrote Dracula, Bram Stoker, was a member of that society. William Butler Yeats, the poet, was a member. They all participated in this. Gave us pretty much what we would consider to be our modern occultism. When people went back and started reading what their works, and of course Crowley gets the worst rap out of all of them. Crowley, and deservedly so. I mean, the guy was a head case. He also had a lot of interesting things to say. His books are.
You touched an interesting point about reincarnation. That's technically possible. He might have. I don't think everybody gets reincarnated. I think specific situations, like I said, my brother, he was not even. I don't know if he was even one. Maybe one, if that. But I don't think he was even one. Died back then. They said died of SIDS. Now,
okay,
I would think maybe because he didn't experience life. I would think he might be able to be reincarnated. I guess if the soul wants to or not. I like I said, I don't know, but I would think like people that have a chance of reincarnation would be like kids that died early age or did not live a life, or I don't know, but I think reincarnation is pretty cool. Like, would I want to be reincarnated? Well, I wouldn't know.
I could give you my experience with it. My experience with it goes something like this. I went through a phase in my spiritual development where I identified myself as being born again Christian, and I've studied a lot of Bible in my life. And one thing that the Bible does not really allow much room for is reincarnation. This is, you get one shot, and this is it. And when you're talking Christianity, when you're talking like King James Bible, I don't mess with any other translation of other than King James, because it's the translation into English the first time was bad enough. Subsequent translations only got worse. That being said, there is no room in the original King James for anything remotely approaching reincarnation. We're all born into this world to make a choice. You either love God or love Satan. Those who, like, basically 1/3 of heaven rebelled. That wasn't just the angels, that was everybody. And those who stood with God come down here and mix around with that 1/3 who rebelled, and they're allowed to say anything to each other, do anything to each other, whatever, to convince them that their side is right. And at the end, you either love God or love Satan. And hell is not forever. That's one thing. Like, you got to get Christians, like, it's, in your religion, hell lasts best 10 minutes. And it's going to happen at the end of time. The lake of fire is a 10-minute deal where God wipes his memory of anybody that he rebelled against him twice. There's only one entity sentenced to that right now, and that's Lucifer. All the other ones have a choice to make. And like I said, I'm just giving you Christian philosophy. I'm not saying that this is,
how it is or not, but no, it's very interesting. I find it very interesting.
And basically, everybody that, you're going to burn up in hell if your grandmother was a really wicked woman in her life, and you're, according to what a lot of Christian preachers will tell you, that there's a gulf, and the gulf actually comes from Luke. Luke wrote about it, and it's nothing what they interpret it to be. But apparently, like, you get to be sitting on one side of the Gulf in heaven, having a nice, lovely picnic, while Grammy Annie over there is swimming through a lake of fire, and her, lava is eating the flesh right off of her bones, and she's screaming bloody murder, and you're sitting there having a picnic and saying, "Isn't it such a lovely day in heaven?" And while Grammy Annie is 10 feet away from you, screaming as her flesh falls off her body. What kind of sick, sadistic God is that?
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
That's not the way it works. Like I said, it lasts 10 minutes, and the burning away is actually, it's symbolic. It's basically they're all burned out of your memory, like they never existed to begin with. But that's the Christian belief. And like I said, Christians don't allow for reincarnation. My experience with reincarnation came, my waking up out of Christianity the second time was, we all have spirit guides. There are, some of them are in your life. Some of them are in another place, and they're offering you direction. And when you, start recognizing it, you can talk with them. And at one point they said, "You don't believe in reincarnation?" I'm like, "Nah, it's bullshit. Nothing to do with anything. It's just people, they want to come back here for whatever reason. It gives them peace, safety, comfort." What if I told you you're reincarnated? You're reincarnated as somebody else right now from a former incarnation. And what if I said I could show you that incarnation and let you live there for just a little bit? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm open. Go ahead. Throw me your worst. And I'm laying face down on a battlefield over in Europe. And somebody in Latin, and I can understand Latin perfectly, apparently, in this place, says to me, "Commander, get up." I was at the end of my career. I was a legionnaire. I was fighting on the borders of Germania, which was modern day, Germany.
Okay.
And I was basically given my assignment as centurion. I was at the end of my military career. Everybody knew it. I really couldn't. I was in my 40s. I wasn't in the best health anymore. I couldn't fight very well, not like I did when I was younger. And they gave me the post of centurion and gave me a command, more or less, to retire me out, with honor and having, accolades and all that. Right. We wore diplomas around our military diplomas. We wore them around our neck. I got the big feather duster on my head because I was the leader of the group. I had my 100, and I was knocked from my horse with an arrow to my thigh. And as I was barking out orders at my guys, one thing I love when I see the movie Gladiator is, like, they didn't fight like that, not even close. The Romans had shields that went from the bottom of their sandals, or the top of their sandals, to their noses, and they had very short swords called a gladius. And they would hold the shield up with their left hand. Doesn't matter if you're righty or lefty. You held the shield up with your left hand. It was kind of like a phalanx that the Spartans used, but the Romans went shield to shield, and they left a small gap in between each shield on the right where they could just, like, they would use a stabbing motion with the short sword, and they would literally, and the guys in back of them would put their shields over their heads to keep arrows from hitting the guys up front. And it was like a tank. And they would just mow over anything in their path with that. That's how the Romans fought. I know because I was there, and I was in it, and I remember it. And I'll tell you what, getting shot in the leg with an arrow hurts a lot. In fact, I have a scar. I have a scar there, and I've had it from as long as I can remember. I was born with it.
The scar that you got from the arrow that you got in another life.
Yep.
That is cool. Not that you have a scar from getting shot with an arrow, but that's just cool.
No, it is actually. I mean, because I mean, like Hannibal Lecter would teach us, our scars remind us that the past is real. And that's what they're there for. That's what scars from a previous existence are there for. They're there to remind you that your past was real. And ever since then, I mean, ever since they allowed me to have the experience of, you know, being knocked off that horse and smelling what the rotten breath of horses and the blood, the coppery smell of blood and being on an actual battlefield like that.
And you could remember, like, you could like smell, see, like.
Yep, I was there.
That is cool. That is cool.
And that's the thing. Like, that's another reason why it's a simulation, because imagine that the entire existence, the entire history of the world from beginning to end is good night, Susan. It's basically on a CD. It's on a DVD. Well, it's like you could start that DVD at any chapter you want to start it at. So the last time I was here was during the Roman Empire. The next time I'm here, I'm a civil servant, in the United States government in the 21st century. The next time I'm here, it might be in the past. I mean, free will to a great degree is an illusion. It's kind of like your free will is grafted in. It's an illusion at one level, and it's absolutely not, because you couldn't be a free being without free will. But it's at the same time, God plans for it.
That's very interesting.
I could
Mark,
talk about
sorry
this
to hear
stuff
about
forever,
that.
man, because
to jump back to haunted places really quick, because I came across one when we were talking. Bobby Mackey's Music World down, and I forget where it's at, but it's a restaurant.
Kentucky.
But it's in Kentucky. I've seen the ghost. Zach and his people went down there at one point. I would love to walk through that place just for schmack. Yeah, I would love to go to Bobby Mackey's. The GF's like,
Did
I
you
wouldn't go
just
down. I'm like,
scratch
I
me?
would.
I'm sorry, that's the episode where they scratched him, and I think somebody just touched my butt. I'm sorry. I've had my fair. I was on actually Ghost Finders, the show that was on WNUP.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, I was on that show once, 2-part episode. I did experience the ghosts at the Homestead Orphanage. I had a chain wallet at the time. The kids were fascinated with the chain. They kind of communicated to me like, well, I see the chain. Where's the watch? And they were like messing with the chain, trying to make the watch fall out of my pocket. And there's no watch at the end of it.
Right. Oh wow. It's but yeah, that's
it's just hooked on a loop, to keep somebody
right.
from like presumably stealing your wallet or whatever. But yeah, that's those ghosts are the easiest thing in the world again to explain. That's an ego that won't die. The mind is a very separate entity from the soul.
Well, they say your mind, like we use our minds, like our brains for daily, but they say our brains are capable of doing so much more. We just don't know how to like use them or tap into that part of it. And I believe it.
I think it's more than I think we're actually physically, through our DNA, I think we're physically prevented from doing that.
Maybe. For some reason we can't, but it's there. It's just we can't do it for whatever reason. I always believe that. Our minds are capable of doing so much more.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it with my mother. I watched her mind die a separate death from the rest of her. the mind keeps going after you die.
Your soul.
It doesn't. It's not your soul.
No.
It could be partially like it won't separate or allow your soul to leave. The mind is, I mean, when you start, like, you read into Freud and Jung, and like the Freudian example would probably be best here, when you talk about the id and the superego, and the part of you that you keep hidden from the world. Well, the ego, I mean, ego's kind of got deputized and to become the end all and be all. We're in a world right now. I mean, it's all about ego.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're so obsessed with hauntings because these are egos that won't die. They're egos that keep going on because they're so self-important. They won't allow. I have unfinished business. That's the ego talk.
I mean, I would believe. Like, I also heard that some people, like, they die, but their souls or their spirits don't. Like, they don't think they're dead. They still think they're still alive. I've heard that story too.
The way I look at it, I think the soul is basically somewhere else, watching the mind and the ego try to move forward without a body, without a soul, and the soul's just looking at it like, oh my god, what's wrong with them? Is that my cue? Am I done?
Like, damn. But I mean, I would always and I know I told this. I think somehow the afterlife has a way of not making stuff happen in this world, but like kind of could push in the direction, maybe. You were talking about when somebody in your family died, like you'd see a certain thing. Well, when my mom was alive, before she got sick, whenever she dreamt of her great grandmother, something was going to happen. 9 out of 10, it was somebody dying. But whenever she would dream about this relative, something would happen. And now it's after, I think I might have told the story. I can't remember. After my dad died, my mom had to go back to work. A couple years later, she went back to work. And during that time, I had a dream. Well, dream, premonition, however you want to call it. That it was a holiday. Can't remember what it was, a holiday. And the powers that be, meaning God, the creator, however you want to call it, gave everybody a free pass to come down and visit their families for this, 1 day thing. And they looked just like they did when they were alive, and blah, 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 blah. So I remember meeting my brother, but my brother's name was Steven, after my dad. But in this dream, I called him Hank. And, so I have the dream, and I wake up, and I'm telling my mom the next day, I'm like, Ma, I had this weird dream. She's like, what? I said, well, everybody that passed away, we had one, like, they were allowed to come back to have one free pass for the day, and we had a big dinner, and we were families all together. I said, but something was weird happened. And she goes, what's that? I said, I met, my brother. He was young like me. She goes, okay. I'm like, but we called him Hank. And she looked at me like, Hank? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And she goes, well, that's interesting. And, boom, boom. There it was, the end of the story, end of the dream. And then months later, my mom, she wakes me up out of the middle of sleep. She's like, Jake, wait. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, I have to tell you this. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, is anybody dead? She's like, no. I'm like, well, that's good. And she goes, I had a dream of grandma, great grandma, I think her great grandma Bird, I think. And I'm like, okay, what was the dream? She goes, do you remember your dream about Hank? I'm like, yeah. I said, I'll never forget that one. She goes, in this dream, her great grandma gave her this box. You remember how the old days, the old belt buckles?
Yeah.
And so my mom, my grandmother, my great great grand gave my mother this box. She opened up and it was a belt buckle, and it said Hank on it. Like wondering what the hell is this Hank? And okay, so like we're like, what the hell's going on? So, time goes forward. My mom starts working at John Hines she was working a switchboard. She was a switchboard operator. And the security office shared the same room as you walked into John Hines. And she goes, I pick her up from work, and she's like, "You're not gonna believe this." I'm like, in our family, I'm gonna believe anything at this point. She goes, "We have a new security guard." I'm like, and I'm like being started like, okay, that's nothing new. She's like, "No, listen to me. His name is Henry." Oh, okay. He's an older guy. His wife died, a couple of years back, and whatever. I said, "Oh, he goes, guess what his nickname is?" "Mom, I have no idea." "You know what they call him?" "Mom, I don't know." "Hank." I'm like, you gotta be shit. So me and mom were wonder like, and then my mom and this Hank started dating, but now kind of picking theory. Did somehow in the afterlife, my father push my mom, and Hank's wife push him to kind of somehow meet? Maybe they were destined to meet each other. I don't know, but it was just always interesting. Like she's like, I'm like, what do they call him? Hank. Hank, really, Hank? Going back to the belt buckle and that, like, could it have been something the afterlife kind of pushed to happen?
You should have picked up on that anyway, as Hank being a nickname for Henry, because we grew up with a guy in East End who he went by Hank, and his actual name was Henry.
I don't remember that. I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah.
But actually, I'm good friends to this day with a guy named Hank who lives up in Mountaintop.
Yeah, it's. But yeah, so it makes you think about what does the afterlife somehow can control or kind of sway.
Not control.
Control's
Again,
one word, but like maybe like sway or kind of push. And if you catch up on it, you do. If you don't, you don't.
They might give you an indication of hey, look for this down the road.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they kind of like maybe to kind of direct you, or I don't know the right word to use.
A good analogy. You and I right now, we're in the Amazon forest. We can only see about 10 feet in front of us because of all the foliage and all the stuff on the ground.
Right.
These big thick trees, and all we could see in front of us is 10 feet, and we're trying to make our way to the river or whatever. Well, the people who have died, and if you can communicate with them, all the better. They're 10,000 feet up, and they can see the entire terrain, and they can see where you are in relation to the river and which direction the river's flowing, and they can see it all.
So they can see any danger ahead of us.
Exactly. They have a much wider perspective, and they have the benefit of, well, time doesn't really exist to them. Well, it could be a benefit, could be a curse, because they might tell you, and I've had that happen too, where it's like, hey, gee, where were you 2 months ago? You could have told me this. They're telling me something that happened to me like it's brand new, and it's like, yeah, oh, that from my end, it happened 2 months ago. Oh, sorry about that.
It's yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I know it's about 2 hours, about 11 o'clock. I'm starting to get a little tired. I got to take Molly out. But before we wrap everything down, just want to give everybody a heads up. I am facing my addictions head on, and I'm trying to work with them. And I feel better. Coming out and saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm an addict." I feel better, and yes, I've been drinking Gatorade tonight, but it is zero sugar.
Drink the Powerade; it's cheaper.
They had actually, yeah. I usually get Gary's had a special eight bottles for like $8. Eight Gatorade for $8. But yeah,
nice.
yeah. So I'm like, hey, 8 for $8, and I grabbed all zero sugars.
Gatorade's flavors are better.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing, like, I've had some comments on some of my food videos. Oh, you gotta want, and in my perspective, like, yeah, you could tell me, hey, that's not good for you. But when like you get that craving, you forget about that. Like you want whatever it is, the food, the drugs, whatever it is. And but I think now that like I told my sisters, I talked to my doctor, it's out in the open. I think I'm starting to get a better handle on this, or at least trying to anyway. It's like, will I like totally stop eating like junk? No, it's not gonna happen. But I can control, like I'm good night, Mark. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Yep, catch you next week. It's Mark, my dad.
I don't judge, man. It's to me, it's like it's your life, it's your body. Tell you what, I mean, if eating Reese's peanut butter cups is worth 3 toes to you, who might have say you're wrong?
Right? No, but just I feel better about myself now coming out and trying to like come out and say, hey, I went to my sister, like, hey, I need help. I can't do something. I'm having a problem. I need help. And we're going through that I'm looking to find like another nutritionist and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is I'm actually giving a shit about what I am doing. And now I know I have videos plastered on YouTube till November, and they're going to be, pizza stuff like. But moving forward from this date, I'm trying to. I am literally trying to correct myself, and because I don't want to die tomorrow. I mean, I want to be here for a long time. Hey, it's like May of 2025. I want to be, a couple of years. I still want to be here doing the show with all you guys. I want to be around, and it's my journey. It's going to be tough because, like, again, like, and it's portion control and eating less of the crap and like. It just I don't know. I'm just let everybody know. I am trying to make myself better because I know people are commenting and going, oh, this that you should have done, and well, I did it. Okay, I was hungry, or that piece of cake looked good, and I wanted to eat it. But I mean, but like more to come on that. But yeah, I feel good. I feel better. I've got my voice back. Whatever that viral crap I had is going away, and yeah, I'm glad to be here every Saturday night with you and Gina and Fred, and I wish False would come back, but who knows what's going on with him, and all you guys out there that are hanging with us. That we had a dedicated 12, at least 12 steady. Thank you, to Ashley, the new girl, the new one that hopped on with us tonight, and Esther. I can't say the word. But yeah, thank you to everybody. And again, Mike, thanks for hanging with another night and interested. And I'm going to wrap this down because I have a dog that wants to go to the bathroom. I will see you next week.
All right, brother.
All right. Have a good night, guys.